From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on Lalate.
It's a big midday with your great update about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. Your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. With that recon deal looming, a deal could be happening any moment. But as broadcast media said a deal was hatched yesterday, I said untrue. And minutes ago, Joe Manchin confirms my reporting. No deal was done yesterday. So we'll go over the breaking news of what Joe Manchin said minutes ago. It's all brand new at noontime. The recon, Americans don't know what's in there, and apparently broadcast media doesn't know it, and guess who may also not know it? The progressives. They say we need to hear more clarity from the moderates. The price is right. We have more update about that, as Joe Manchin said minutes ago. He wants a different price. Which one is it? I have the latest details. Then the programs in and programs out. Totally brand new news. This is breaking, folks. This is, you're going to hear it the first time at noontime. It's new since even this morning. It's a brand new news cycle. Totally new developments you're hearing in the last 2 hours of this channel. Then, student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debt's coming out? And then the exciting details of COLA going up, and that is fifth stimulus. And finally, we look back over the first year and a half of this channel, what we have learned as a community, what we've learned as a family. A lot of details as we go into a big noontime, live from Santa Monica with 140 million views. Boa, it's getting exciting. I have the latest breaking statements minutes ago from the president, from also the progressives, and also Joe Manchin. It's all happening. It's all brand new. It's all at noontime, and it's all exciting. And it's right here on Lalate. Hey, good noontime, everybody. Hope you're good. It is raining badly here in Southern California. But this morning, the number 3 broadcast media company in America said a deal was done yesterday, $1.7 trillion. Untrue. I called out that news network this morning. Minutes ago, Joe Manchin confirmed my reporting. There is no deal yet on the recon, but America's having problems understanding what's in the recon, and so are progressives. What's going on? I have the latest details on this one. Fascinating. The price tag. Joe Manchin spoke about that price tag minutes ago, but the problem is the programs in and programs out. A new program minutes ago causing problems. This is a program I've never covered before on this channel. It's a new program that is now at issue with getting that recon to the finish line. The breaking news at noontime. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Who's up next? Then fifth stimulus coming around the corner. And then we look forward to the next year and a half of this channel as we celebrate our anniversary overnight. Those details and more. It's a big noontime, and I'm excited you're here. And thank you for joining me. And this is Lalate. And so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and 140 million viewers in a year and a half. Yesterday, our big anniversary. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Let's cut right into the exciting details starting right now at noontime, which are the following. A recon was passed in a subcommittee 3 weeks ago. Price tag $3.5 trillion. That recon is getting reduced to a new price tag somewhere around $2 trillion that'll pay viewers on this channel upwards of about $15,000. Yes, they're going to be brand new programs you've never heard of, programs that have not been part of the landscape of the American public. And these are brand new programs that'll pay you upwards of $15,000. Single individuals, married couple, children without children, SSI or SSDI not on benefits, red states, blue states, all across the board. 3 clusters of checks passed. But are all those checks still in there today? And 3 add-ons. Are all those add-ons still going in or going out, or what's going on with them? Here we go. Here's the big update at noontime. Cluster number 1. Hazard pay pass and elder care. We have no update about the hazard pay. This is the broad and the earned income tax credit, lifetime, and increase the amount of money for those essential workers. We have no update about the $4,000 of elder care. This is per year, or the $4,000 for young children's care. We do have an update at noontime that the Pell's grant will be staying in there tax-free, and the grants for college students and for the university staying in there. It's absolutely happening. So that one is going forward. Then the child tax credit. First detail on this channel at 1 year, it will will be 1 year, $3,600 or $3,000 if the family is low income. Then money to repair the home in the low-income community. We don't know anything about that. It's presumed to be in there under the housing provision because that survived. It's coming up in just a second later in this video. Then the money for bikes, cars, and trucks still reportedly in there. This is 15% for the purchase price of a new electric vehicle, new electric bike, U.S. auto manufactured, and $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, personal use, a little bit more if it's for business use. The first add-on from Maxine Waters, $25,000 for the purchase price of your first home. No update about it. I don't think it's surviving anytime, anywhere at that price point of $25,000. That would be too costly, but it may be sliding into the housing provision. Great news on the housing. Housing, which is rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and that other provision I just talked about, repairing the home. That was all out. It was all out as of Thursday. Maxine Waters pushed to get it back in at $100 billion on Friday, down from $300 billion. Then on Saturday, it was at $150 billion. Now it's at about $175 billion. Yes, it's in there. Let's go to second cluster checks. Which ones are in there? Which ones are out? Here we go. In that second cluster of checks, there was weatherizing your home. There is family and medical leave. There was household tax credits. There was pre-kindergarten and tuition-free community college. And what is the status on those? Let's go over the details of that right now. Well, the weatherizing your home expected to stay in there as well. Definitely need to weatherize your home to keep the moderate Democrats out of the House. And wherever possible, keep them out of the Senate. Then the money for paid family and medical leave, it was reportedly on the out. Nancy Pelosi pushed to keep it back in. It's staying in there, but reduced. That's coming up later in this video. Then the money for community college, it was out. The president says out. Jalapal says it's out. It's reportedly back in, but reduced as well, coming up later in this video. The second add-on, boy, I thought this one was going to go completely out. Unbeknownst to me, it was reportedly going to come in even higher than I thought. Bob Casey, $250 billion. This is home health care. Home health care for seniors or people on disability. I thought it was $250. Unbeknownst to me, the president wanted originally $500 billion. Not happening at $500 billion. Not happening at $250 billion. But it's going in there. It's staying in there. The great news on that is it's staying in there. And Bob Casey's still trying to keep it a little bit higher. It's currently at about $150 billion. Let's turn to the third cluster. This one is where it becomes a bloodbath. Seniors and free internet. Let's go over the details. Let's go over what's passed, and I'll give you the update. So free school meals for all, checks. Cheaper prescription medication, checks for free internet, checks for farmers, checks for clean energy, checks for workers like independent contractors, checks for dental, vision, hearing care, and lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. Boy, a lot of updates on that one. Later in this video, I'll be going over the specifics because there is a lot of specifics, but Medicare survived. Dental, vision, and hearing care looks like it's surviving. Then the money for seniors surviving. The dropping the Medicare age for eligibility looks like it's surviving as well. And the clean energy, of course, out. Wow, that was surprising. Where are they going to land? I have the details, the number of years, the amount of the payments, which prescription medication. I have incredible details coming up in the second half of this video as we go over no less than about 20 programs, item by item, year by year, price point by price point. It's coming up in a second. The final add-on, of course, is that IRS monthly stimulus check. There's room to do 1, 2, or 3 checks, and there's room to get those checks in there because they are not $500 billion provisions. So what's important to understand is that advocacy needs to continue, and it needs to continue especially today on the Senate side. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi is reaching out to the senators today to get their input on their items. Nancy Pelosi told broadcast media Sunday that today she's asking for the Senate to provide their insight on what they want to add in there. Her direct quote was, the Senate today will start outlining their additional financial proposals they want to add in there. Boy, time to hit that Senate with your advocacy. Also, later in this video, you're going to see Ron Wyden, the senator, Democrat. He's introducing legislation to add into the recon just today. So obviously a lot of room to push. And why is it important to push? Because we have different steps along the way. We have the House and we have the Senate. First, the opportunity to add it to the recon package before it becomes a bill. Then, if it's not in the bill on the House side, House members have said they're going to add it before it's voted on, but after it's a House bill. Those are Omar, Pelosi, and AOC telling viewers over the last few weeks, adding it after it's a House bill but before a House vote. But if they don't do it on the House side, we have the Senate side. The two-day vote-a-rama, very critical position. That two-day vote-a-rama is where they introduce amendments to whatever they're given for the House bill. The senators receive a House bill passed on the House side, and they look at it and say, you left out stuff. You left out stuff, and I'm adding it in there. Chuck Schumer, the number one most important person for that recon, he said to Donnie's wife and Debbie Applegate and another viewer as well in the last 2 weeks, he's added in during the vote-a-rama. That vote-a-rama is historically very important. Remember, the vote-a-rama was where Liz Warren, who's never part of the negotiations, she added a provision last recon, the third recon, to make tax-free student loan debt forgiveness. Normally, when your debt is forgiven student loan debt, you have to pay fortunes of taxes, $10,000, $20,000 of taxes, IRS immediately. She made it tax-free by entering it as a vote-a-rama provision that passed. And that brings us to our advocacy, because best what? You need to advocate to her over the finish line. Here's that message of advocacy from the number one senator and the number one person in the office, the chief of staff. The message says the following. They've now received in total, between congressional and senatorial offices, more advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the American Petition. Everyone's amazed by the outpouring of touching stories from you, your viewers, LA. Now they have a better understanding of how people are trying to get through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories from the LA viewers, and they have the voice of the people that in ULA that has become too loud to be ignored across the nation. Very, very kind. Let's read the last sentence on air together. The last sentence talks about you and me and says, please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as you have become the professional voice for the people in ULA and continue to push until this becomes law. Very, very important. As you look at this recon, as you look at what's coming up in the second half of this video, you see how provisions were out and back in. Nancy's provisions out, back in. Maxine Waters' provision out, then back in. Bob Casey's provision out, then back in. People are pushing to get things added in there. You need to push. Senators Chris Coons, Bob Casey, Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer. You need to advocate, because the advocacy is far from over. Everyone's advocating by the minute and by the hour. And the second half of this video, you're going to hear the breaking news of what Joe Manchin said about advocacy for something very important. I agree with him. It's a great provision. He says it needs to be fixed in this recon. It's breaking news minutes ago. And then you're going to hear what the progressives are saying about the recon just at noontime. Totally brand new news. Then we're going to go back over, if you missed the details from Morning's Lalate, I have no less than 12 to 20 provisions of the recon. I'm going to go over every provision and recap where that provision is in the recon, how much it's paying and where it's paying. It's all coming up. It's a supersized noontime broadcast. And with that, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now as we go into a second half of this video. As the deal's happening, broadcast media jumped the ball this morning by saying a deal was already hatched. It was not. Then, why do Americans not know it's in the recon? It's important to know it's in the recon. In the second half of this video, I'm going to show you the 12 to 20 provisions that pays you upwards of $15,000. The price is right. At 1.7, it would cost 1 to 2 programs. So is it going to be at 2 trillion or 1.7? I have the latest details in this recording. Programs in, programs out. And the details are that a lot of programs are thought that they were taken care of, but Joe Manchin just gave us a new wrinkle. That new wrinkle, it's coming up in the second half of this video. Then student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven by the end of this weekend. Which debt is it? I have the latest details. COLA raise. Yes, you're going to get a raise if you're on benefits, but get ready for fifth stimulus because it's right behind that. And a top legislator says he's going to do fifth stimulus. That would give you 2 more raises right behind that. And then we look back at the first year and a half of this channel. This channel celebrated its 1.5 year anniversary this weekend. What does it tell us about ourselves and our community and our family? As we continue the second half of this video, it's a big second half. It's a big noontime. And this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and 140 million views. I appreciate you along the run. Thank you for subscribing and also like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member to get that newsletter that comes out tonight at about 7 p.m. Let's go over what the president did and didn't do on Sunday and what went on today. On Sunday, the president of the United States invited to his home in Delaware, Joe Manchin, for negotiations of the recon. And then immediately this morning, the #1 broadcast channel in America had a news feed they sent out to all the local news stations saying, deal, recon done, 1.7 trillion. I thought, what? Why did I not see this anywhere? And then I went and looked. Absolutely untrue. There was no deal done between Joe Manchin and the president overnight, and it was not at 1.7. So let's go over what's going on. First, I'm going to go over the breaking news in the last minute. This is totally new at noontime. Then I'm going to come back over what happened in the last 2 hours, and then I'll go over what happened right before that. A lot of details about what's going on. First, write it or don't write it. A new interesting twist right now is that progressives are now looking at the negotiations. And the negotiations have gone so much this way, that way, this way, that while you and I are trying to keep on top of every program and where the program is and the pay for, that a lot of progressives are now saying, you better write this up and get it approved by all the moderates, or we are blocking the roads and bridges vote later this week. You know what Steny Hoyer said. You know what the president said. You know what Nancy Pelosi said. Both bills later this week. But the progressives, like I would be, as you would be as well, are being extra cautious to say, don't expect to call the vote on just the roads and bridges again by the end of this week and say that I've agreed upon the recon when you're too vague on the details of the recon. We need a vote on the recon, not just a framework on the recon. Democrats, and especially progressives, say that they're looking at 20-page outlines at the moment or 2-page outlines. It's too vague. They need an actual bill, and they need it voted on by the moderate Democrats. And that is something I would agree upon, absolutely. Expansion of Medicare. This is something I've never covered on this channel. I've never covered in detail on this channel. I covered in the third cluster. You hear in the third cluster the expansion of Medicare. And we've always heard it was done. We always heard it was finalized. No problem with it. No one opposed to it. Joe Manchin came out this morning and said he's worried about it. Why is he worried about it? He's not opposed to it. He's worried about how you implement it. Very, very complicated. But let me explain what's at issue here. This is the quote. This is basically a service. It's supposed to be in 50 states, and the problem is that right now we only have. We're paying 90-10. So 10% of it's being paid by all the states. For the states that held out, they're rewarded 100%. That's not fair. What's Joe Manchin saying? It's a very strange way it's been written, where every state gets this benefit. Every state's residents gets this benefit, red and blue state. But the red states are refusing to pay for the money. So the blue states are having to pick up the money for the red states that don't want to pay for it. So he says it's a big issue. You need to fix the language because as West Virginia is paying for it, it's a blue state, and it's paying for it, but the neighboring states that are red are not paying for it and are getting it for free. He says Medicare and Social Security are lifelines to the people back in West Virginia, most people around the country. But you have to stabilize it because we should not be fiscally responsible for other states that don't want to pay for it. Interesting. Then, minutes ago, when asked whether he had a deal with the president on Sunday, which he didn't, he said, I'm concerned about a lot of things. Wouldn't give us the detail. Then the president was asked, do you think that there's going to be an agreement on the recon before you leave for the trip? If you watch Mornings Lalate, I talked about this trip. I talked about it yesterday. I don't like the president leaving before the trip. And the president was asked about leaving while he's trying to get a deal on a trip. The president said it would be very positive to get it done before the trip. Notice the verb tense. It would be very positive to get it before the trip. Then, when asked whether he's going to get it done before the trip, he says, with the grace of God and the goodwill of the neighbor. Then, infrastructure. Without an agreed upon provision of where the social spend, where the recon is, the House progressives are now saying, you don't get that recon to a vote this week with detail. I'm not signing off on the infrastructure and being conned or convinced or manipulated as to maybe there's an agreement upon the provisions. No. I'm going to block the infrastructure again. There's a Virginia gubernatorial election next week, and they're worried that it will send the wrong message. But the progressives said, I don't care. We're blocking the roads and bridges if you try to call for a vote again this week because we do not have enough detail on the recon, which is also supposed to be called for a vote this week. Then taxes. Joe Manchin really made it very clearly. He says, I support the corporate taxes and I support the provision about taxes the president has proposed. But that's not so much for Chris and Sinema. All right, so now let's go over the provisions right now, and let's go over where we are. We're going to go over each provision, in, out, watered down, a lot of breaking news, details you're not going to see anywhere else, and it starts right now. Get that pen and paper ready. It's a lot. All right, first, child tax credit. They wanted it for 15 years, then they wanted it for 4 years. They wanted it for people who make $110,000 or less, which was higher than the current law. They are now going to get it for 1 year, $60,000 or less. Next, community college. They wanted it lifetime. They are going to either get it 2 years or not get it at all. Biden told news last week it was out. Jalapal told news on Wednesday it was out. But those are outdated quotes. The latest update is it's either in there at 2 years or 1 year, but it's not out at the moment. The Pell Grant survived. It's in there. Medicare expansion. We just went over that as well. Now let's go over dropping the Medicare eligibility age. It looks like that will survive. That is, the number is not clear. It's currently 65. Casey wants it at 60. Bernie, unbeknownst to me, wants it at 55. I don't know if it's going to get down to 55. Then we're going to go over the dental, vision, and hearing. It's all going to survive. Thank goodness. It looked like it was out on Saturday. It's going to survive. It's very complicated, and I'll explain it in just about 5 minutes from now. Pelosi said Sunday, dental is very expensive. I'll explain to you why dental is also confusing. Paid leave. Okay, here we go. Paid leave, which is your wife's pregnant, you have to stay home from work, or your son broke his leg, you have to stay home from work. It was in there, then it was out by the end of last week. That's when Pelosi said, I've changed more diapers than anyone in this room. Well, the good news, it's going to survive, but dramatically different. Here's what they wanted. They wanted 12 weeks paid full leave if you are an employee or you're self-employed like Uber or Lyft driver, or a gig worker like a Postmates driver. And they wanted to run for a decade. It's not going to be that. Rather, it's going to be 4 weeks and only for employees, gig workers, independent contractors out, and it's only going to be for low income. Price tag about $100 billion. Nancy Pelosi says this is our hope. This is what we're fighting for. Tax hikes, really fluid situation. I don't know where this is going to land, and I'm going to explain this later in this video. Joe Manchin's on board for it. He's on board for it. He's on board for raising corporate taxes and taxing the billionaires. Chris and Sinema, mystery. No one knows. And I don't know what the president's doing with the situation. She's not telling people where she is on the situation. She has said she doesn't want to do the corporate taxes. She doesn't want to do the rich person's taxes. Here, I'm a little personally confused. I don't know what the president did yesterday. He brought Joe Manchin to talk about corporate and rich person taxes when he knows Sinema's not going to do it. So why do that type of negotiations with Joe Manchin when you know Sinema's not doing it? Sinema will do raising the minimum corporate tax rate, closing corporate loopholes. I would have hoped that the president has run the numbers on how much that raises, if it raises enough money, $600 billion. A lot of people are asking me questions about this. I don't know the answer. I think it raises $600 billion, but I don't know why the president hasn't crunched these numbers, and I don't know why the president's not focusing on that when he does not have Sinema on board with corporate and wealth tax. Meantime, Ron Wyden, doing exactly what you want a senator to do, beat his own drum. Remember, senators can do your IRS monthly stimulus check during vote-a-rama. What's Ron Wyden doing today? He's a senator. He's introducing his own legislation today to add to the recon that would tax billionaires who have $1 billion in net worth and make more than $100 billion for 3 consecutive years to pay taxes on assets they hold, even if they're not selling the assets. All right, here comes prescription medication. Really fascinating. Prescription medication, lowering the price of prescription medication. We thought it was out because of Kristen Sinema. It's surviving. How is it surviving? By likely lowering prescription medication for those medications approved by Medicare Part B, but not other provisions. Interesting. Childcare, staying in there, and that includes the pre-kindergarten, but not the same way. And it's too complicated. I couldn't even follow it. Clean air, definitely out. Health insurance, staying in there, but shorter duration. Housing aid, great news for you. This is rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. It may be the first-time home buyer, but we don't know. And it may also be the home repairs, like the weatherizing of the home and the repairs of the home in the low-income community. It was supposed to be $500 billion. Then it was $300 billion. Then it was out. It was out last Wednesday. It's back in at 175. Great news. In-home healthcare, you heard it earlier in this video. It was supposed to be $400 billion. Then it was 300. Then it was out. It's back in, and it's somewhere between $100 to $200 billion. That's home healthcare for seniors and people on disability. All right, I got more programs coming up in a second. There's a problem, and the problem is not Joe Manchin. The problem is Kristen Sinema. She's not telling people what she doesn't like. And, you can have Joe Manchin on board for everything. If you don't have Kristen Sinema explain what you don't like, no one knows what's going on. And this is what Ro Khanna, who tells it like it is, Democrat from California, said on Chris Wallace Fox News Sunday. This was yesterday. Senator Manchin has always been a straight shooter. You know exactly where he stands. I disagree with him on areas, but I respect that he tells me what he doesn't like. My concern with Senator Sinema is, why are all the rules different for her? She doesn't go on shows like yours. She doesn't explain what she doesn't like. And Nancy Pelosi said yesterday that the Senate starts outlining today whatever financial proposals, aka add-ons, that they want to do. Nancy also said the following about dental, and I'll explain dental a little bit more in a second. Dental will take a little bit longer to implement. We're told by people about these things that it takes 5 to 6 years to implement the dental. So how do we fill in the blank here? When we get to the dental, I'm going to explain this because this is very, very complicated. The good news is that dental, vision, hearing, billions of benefits for millions of seniors staying in. It's definitely staying in. How is this going to stay in? I'm going to go over the details in a second. But at the moment, they're looking at doing it maybe at 3 years. Bernie went at a lifetime. It's not going to survive at a lifetime. They're looking at doing all the programs at 3 years. The dental is first, the most expensive. Number 2, if they put the dental in there, they don't know how they account for the dental because it doesn't take effect this year. It would take, as you just heard from Nancy, it would take effect 3 to 4 years from now. So is that a financial burden now or financial burden in the future? But more importantly, where do you get the money for the dental now if it doesn't take effect for 4 or 5 years? So that's why they're thinking of doing vouchers instead. I don't particularly like the price tag of the vouchers because it's $800. $800 for vouchers for dental for a senior. That's nothing. I don't know of any dental procedure that's $800. I mean, maybe it's cheaper in other parts of the country, but $800 for a dental procedure, that's nothing. That's like half of a tooth. It's nothing. It doesn't cover anything. So Bernie says not coming out. It's not coming out. It's definitely not coming out. And Omar says not coming out. It isn't coming out. But where is it going to land? We don't know. The paid leave definitely staying in there. I see there's a problem with just doing paid leave for low income versus all workers in the workforce, because who's going to determine whether you're low income? Based upon the salary of the check? I guess that's what they're going to do. But what if you have two different jobs? It's a little bit confusing across the board. Here's what's very important for you to understand is that a new CBS poll says that 90% of Americans don't know this recon exists. Then, of the 10% that know it exists, they don't know what's in the recon. What's important for you to know is that the press secretary had the best quote about this in the last 24, 48 hours, which was, the programs here have never existed before in our society, which means that you've never seen these programs. You've never seen how to get this money. You've never seen how to get this money or where this money is. You've watched this channel. I've taught you about the programs, where they're going to work and how they're going to work. But it's important to understand is that when we look at the $15,000 that these programs are going to pay you across the board, you got to have an open mind because these are totally new things. These are things we've never seen before. So you can't compare it to first, second, or third stimulus. You can't compare it to how Medicare or senior benefits have worked over the last 20 years. They're going to be totally new. So don't use a prior thing as the sort of benchmark of comparing it to, because they're going to be brand new programs started from scratch. Then, we now know that House Ways and Means Committee Chair Richard Neal was totally wrong when I said he was wrong on Friday. He said that all proposals were done, that all the policy outcomes were done. They're still negotiating the provisions. He's working on the revenue side, which we talked about with Sinema, which the provisions of corporate loopholes and global minimum corporate tax rate she likes. But again, the question is how? You saw early in this video that new quote, or that new detail from the progressives that says, we need a bill for a vote and pass by the moderate Democrats on the recon. We're not signing off on the roads and bridges based upon an informal sort of vague shadow of the situation. That's why Steny Hoyer said, I've been doing this deal for a while. Obviously, our hope is to get an agreement last Friday. And our hope is to have the roads and bridges and the social spending, the recon, to the floor of the House for a vote by the end of this week, if they're ready. I'm going to repeat that quote as many times as I can, because the quote is that both of them, the roads and bridges and the social spending. Why am I going to repeat the quote? Because I just sense the moderate Democrats are going to try to play, the Gothenheimer on the House side. Just going to play that game, call the vote on the roads and bridges. They haven't done it yet, but I just sense it's around the corner. Maybe I'm a little bit skeptical, but I just sense it's coming. Stephanie Murray, I love her quote. Big one for us. It's a great quote for us. She basically says, no one's asked me what I want to do with this recon. I have an opinion. Who's negotiating this recon? Really, four people. Nancy, Chuck, the president, and Joe Manchin. Sporadically, it's also Kristen Sinema and Bernie Sanders. Nowhere in the negotiations is Liz Warren. Do you think Liz Warren on the Senate side has an opinion? You know she does. Do you think Omar and AOC on the House side have an opinion? You know they do. Where are they part of the negotiations? They're not. Do they like that? No. Are they going to introduce changes? You know they are. And that is why you need to advocate across the board. And that is what Stephanie Murray, who is not part of any particular equation, says. Florida Representative Stephanie Murray says there's significant focus on other the members, but we have perspectives on the bill as well. I think it'd be really wise to engage with me and see why. We need to make sure that everyone's concerns are addressed and heard. Very, very familiar subject. We heard this in 2020, where Steve Mnuchin was negotiating with Nancy Pelosi. Just two people in the room. And Mitch McConnell said, Steve Mnuchin, he hasn't asked me what I want as I'm a Republican. And guess what? Every time Steve Mnuchin negotiated, other Republicans said, I wasn't part of the negotiations. I'm going to make changes. And they did. The interesting thing is that they're getting very, very, very close. But the very last part is the most important part. Let's go over that recon. The recon has been written. we're not starting to write the recon this week. The recon was written by that subcommittee in the House that I was detailing over the last 3 weeks, past the 3.5 trillion. So all they're doing is they're changing numbers. The only thing that's substantially maybe changed is the revenue side. Instead of corporate tax rate, a tax loophole. But the recon has been written, and they're changing language. That's why Chris Coons says gaps are closing. The Weimar caucus is different. And Tester says we're getting very close to the point where we're done. Price tag, 1.7, 1.9, 2 trillion. The interview with Joe Manchin minutes ago he said again, I like 1.5. Well, of course, you ask him that question. Of course, he's going to say what he likes. I like 1.5. The Progressives has said, 3.5. The president said 2. The moderate Democrats said 1.7, but said they'll go to 1.9. I think it'll be 1.9 or 2. The president went into those meetings with Joe Manchin on Sunday for 2. He emerged today still at 2. Broadcast media ran it as 1.7 deal. Untrue. There was no deal at 1.7. It's important to understand that while 2 to 1.7 may not make a big difference, it sort of does make a difference. Why? Because the programs are literally jumping around at about $150, $200 billion programs. Well, $300 billion drop in a recon cuts out a program or a program and a half or 2 programs. So you want to keep the recon closer to 2 if you can, because it could be the fate of 1 to 2 programs across the board. Debbie Dingle says the president's been decisive. He's showing leadership. I think it's going to get done. But here's where my biggest criticism of the situation is. And you heard it earlier this morning, which is he needs to stay in town. He cannot be leaving on this one. You want it done, you stay in town, Mr. President. I don't know what this other thing he has to do out of town on, but you and I now know why this recon moved so quickly last week. Why? Not because of Joe Manchin, not because of Joe Biden, not because of Kristen Sinema. It's because there's a stubborn person or 2 people or 3 people in that White House that says no to everything until the president tells them, cut it out. I'm removing the program. I don't care about your stubbornness. It's coming out. We don't make progress. Who's that person? Well, one person was holding up that clean energy provision for 3 months when Joe Manchin said on day one, take it out. And that person in the White House administration wouldn't take it out. Finally, the president said, you're taking it out. I'm the president, you're taking it out. Suddenly we had progress. That person in the administration that said we had to have childcare assistance for 15 years and we have to have community college for 10 years. The president said, take it out. We're not spending $500 billion, a quarter of the recon on your provision. Take it out. It's that decisiveness that Representative Dingle was absolutely correct about. President, when he put his foot down, it worked. But with the president going out of town, I don't like that. Because who's going to say if dental, vision, and hearing needs to go to 2 years instead of 1 year or 3 years? Who's going to say that? It's not going to be the White House administrator. It's going to be the president. Will the president put his foot down if he's overseas? Maybe he won't hear it as much. Maybe tippy toes. Let's go over some of the other provisions right now. Childcare, definitely dropping to 1 year. Obama subsidy staying in there. Medicare expansion. I'm laughing because this is my write-up from Saturday. Medicare expansion definitely in there. But how? You heard earlier in this video, Joe Manchin has a problem about this provision. I agree with him. You have it in there, but it's being paid for by Democratic states for all the states. And the Republican states are using it and giving it to their citizens, but not paying a penny for it. Very, very confusing. The SALT is out. The cap on state and local tax deduction, it is out. And then, and there you go. Really, I'm flying through this video because, boy, the timing on this video is running long. What is my opinion of the situation? My opinion of the situation is it's very fluid. It's very, very fluid. The good news is that if a program can get gotten down to $100, $150 billion, it's in good situation. Programs $500 billion, never seen a light of day. Got to get it at 500, 300, 250. 250, not even a comforting number. They're getting it less than 250, somewhere 100, 150, 200, $250 billion. But I do see that coming to an agreement on a framework may be problematic. Here's something new I want to say at noontime right now. I'm saying it for the very first time on this channel, is that let's say we had agreement on all the programs right now, which was what we were hoping to get by last Sunday. Agreement on every program. I could tell you it's 5 years and $10 here and $12 there. We have an agreement. Then we have to see the legislation. And the legislation has to be voted on. Joe Manchin wants that. He's a moderate Democrat. He's not hiding the ball. I love that. He's thinking like a progressive. He says, I want to see the legislation. I don't want to agree upon a framework. I want to agree upon the framework, but I also want to see the legislation so I can vote on it. Progressives are now right on the same point with Joe Manchin on this. Get this to a bill and have it voted on so we can all agree upon it. Who's not in that position? Kristen Sinema. She's not telling anyone anything. So until you get something right in front of someone and say, here, vote, then we're not calling any vote on roads and bridges anytime soon. And so that is where the situation is right now. Moving very, very quickly, but I'm excited that dental, vision, hearing back in there. Paid leave, family leave, definitely back in there. I'm excited that the home health care, definitely in there. A lot of things that I reported were out as of Saturday or Sunday, because they were out, are back in there. And I love that the Medicare expansion, definitely in there, and the drop in the eligibility age of Medicare looks like it's going in there as well. Great news how they've been able to figure out these items across the board. Now, let's go quickly over student loan debt forgiveness and COLA. More student loan debt could be forgiven. Yes, the president's proposed $10,000 of student loan debt to be forgiven. The Democrats should take it. Democrats don't need to close the door at $10,000. Just take this and come back for more next year. This would be huge during the holidays. The president's already forgiven 3 rounds before this. First, he forgave student loan debt for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Then, the president forgave student loan debt for individuals who went into the nonprofit sector 10 years after graduation. And the biggest one was the president forgave student loan debts for individuals who went into the public sector 10 years after graduation. Your city, your county, your state, all those individuals, your debts are now forgiven. Then, the big exciting details is COLA. Yes, your benefits are going up next year if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, but guess what? There's FIST stimulus right behind it. One of the top legislators says, get ready for FIST stimulus, and I love it. How does FIST stimulus work? Well, FIST stimulus will have 2 more lift-ups after this. You're currently receiving a check if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security benefits. That check amount no longer going to be your number next year. You're going to be raised up an average of 5 to 6%. But get ready for 2 more lift-ups if FIST stimulus becomes law. First, they're going to raise your benefits up a lifetime if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits. Then they're going to apply a new benchmark next December. And Representative Yarmouth from Kentucky, John, House Budget Chairman, said to Pelosi this last week, we're going to do this recon next. I love it. He wants to do it because he wants to do it by recon because he thinks it's very helpful for the American people, and he thinks it will be a big win for the Democrats before the midterm election. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member today because while the video is running long, and they may run all long this week, big money is still going out for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. If you haven't seen this video, watch it in the most recent videos. The money for rent still paying out. Viewers are getting upwards of $40,000 a week still on this channel. The utilities, viewers are getting $15,000. The money for mortgage assistance still going out. And the nonprofits really helping viewers like United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities. All those details are featured in the newsletter. It goes out 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system and the Lalate alert system, which is totally free to sign up for. It's under the video description. That newsletter features all the big money you can get under third stimulus, and boy, very exciting that it's still paying as of October and will be paying into next month as well. Get that money, get another round of the money. If you've used up the money before, you can get another round of it as well. Meantime, coming up later today on this channel is a lot of programming. But as we look forward and we look back, this channel turns 1.5 years old yesterday and 140 million views. What have we learned over the last year and a half? That we're a community that represents so many different types of people. And while opinions are welcome, always be inclusive of people across the board. During the commercial break, I saw people during the comments saying, I don't need this because I'm a this, or I don't need that because I'm a that. Always be considerate of someone else that's in the live chat because there may be someone that program helps. These are programs for all of the American people. So don't consider your situation as exclusive to someone else. Be inclusive of other people's wishes and be considerate of everyone else. That's how this channel has always existed. Always be considerate and always be inclusive. The coverage of this channel has always been inclusive, starting with with coverage of EIDL, PPP, and PUA and UI, which was business and employment coverage, and then expanding also into SSI and SSDI, then expanding to everyone. So always be considerate of everyone's views, everyone's opinions, because we're all a family, whether young, old, on disability, not on disability, owning a business, not owning a business, working or unemployed. We're all part of the same family and all part of the same community. And with that, thank you for the last year and a half. Join me next on Afternoons LA at 1 o'clock. This video will automatically take you there. And then the brand new Evenings LA, it's at 3 o'clock. It's huge. It has a big rundown of the 20 programs, where they are right now in this recon. Tonight's Evenings LA will be the final update. It will be huge. It will encompass all this brand new details of this Medicare expansion controversy right now. The issue of framework versus voting on the recon by bill vote, those details as well. It's coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, and then we got shows at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock as well. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused. It's going to be a big news cycle and a big news week and a big news day already. You see how many notes I'm bringing on set just in this recording. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you at 1 o'clock on Afternoons Lalate.